What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future of this company. I'm also going to give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow and talk about why I do see a bit of a pullback coming in for tomorrow before we do start to rally going into next week. I'm also going to talk about what the PPI data did show involving inflation for supply prices and also what's going on in Shanghai and all the news coming out for Tesla as well, as many things still make me pretty excited, right, for the future. There are good pieces of news coming out, but other things that are a little bit concerning, which I don't think are going to affect us too much. Now, anyways, before I get into any more details, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, what my price prediction is, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. As you guys know, I'm not a financial planner, so please don't take this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, but benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull with my link down below and deposit any amount of money, whether it's $1 or $100, you're going to get up to 5 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. Once again, that's free money. And the thing about this is you could always sell those 5 free stocks and buy some Tesla shares for free. This is a limited time offer that ends in just 5 days. And also, Webull is running out of these 5 free stocks, so please check it out before they run out to get your free Tesla shares. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, what I did end up predicting was very, very close to what ended up playing out. I told you guys that I expected us to see some very good price movement after we broke out of this channel. I did say that 975 would hold us up, and it did actually hold us up very well. Then I did tell you we'd break out of this channel past 1000, and I expected us to fill the gap that was way back here, the gap at around 1026. That is exactly what happened. But then I did think we would drop just a little bit, closing around that $1,010 range. We ended up closing at 1022, so we were very, very close when it came to the prediction, which just goes to show that, look, predictions are not always going to be right. They're not always going to be perfect, but there are times where you could look at technical analysis and make some very, very bold claims that do end up coming through based off the data and based off everything else that's going on. Now, when it comes to the price action of the market, I think that we did see a pretty darn good move from the SPY and the NASDAQ, considering how we did end up dropping a couple of days ago. But the thing is, we got this big report that came out, and this was very important. This is the PPI data, or the supplier prices, as they rose 11.2% from a year ago in March. Once again, that's the biggest gain on record. So for those of you who don't know, the producer price index measures the prices paid by wholesalers. It rose 1.4% in March, I think in like 2010, and now it's at 11.2%. So we are seeing this, what's happening to these supply chains. This is causing a lot of prices to go up. Essentially, the consumer price index is also correlated with this, and we are seeing this have a toll on our economy. But the stock market is not in a very vulnerable position, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at the SPY, we do have this gap fill that is going to push the SPY up to 446 in the future. We're getting closer to it, and I do see that happening next week. But for tomorrow, what's going to happen to Tesla is probably what everyone's wondering. What's happening to the market? And in my opinion, I think there's going to be a bit of a sell-off tomorrow. I'm going to show you exactly why. Well, the market is closed on Friday. You have to remember that for Good Friday, it's obviously an important day to lots of people. The market is going to be closed because of that. And because of that, tomorrow is the last day of the week. So we had a pretty short week. The market's going to be open on Thursday, and that's going to be the final day. And as a result, there are going to be a lot of people selling off for their profits. And also, volume tends to not be as big. And on top of that, we do have some very interesting data coming out involving the SPY. So right here, if you look at the options chain for the SPY, you could see that there were 203,000 calls out of the money for today. The SPY still managed to close green, but then we have 743,000 out of the money for tomorrow. So that's pretty big, but the big thing to be looking out for is the 2.58 million puts out of the money. So what's happening is a lot of puts are not in the money right now, and I do think that a lot of these market makers, a lot of these shorts, perhaps maybe big institutions, they're going to want to push them in the money. So in order to do that, they need to cause the market to drop just a little bit. Now, that's not a guarantee. I'm not promising that, but I do find that a little bit more probable than us just starting to rip from here on out. So what I see happening is I see a bit of a dip for the entire market from AMC to GME, whether you want to look at Ader or anything else like that, or Apple, and Tesla's going to get caught in this. So unless some big pieces of news end up coming out, which I don't really see quite yet. I do expect Tesla to just drop a little bit before we start to rally next week for earnings. So where do I see this thing retracing to? Well, I always keep my lines on the chart to make this as clear as possible for anyone that's very interested. And I do think that what's going to happen is Tesla starting off at 1,026. It's very possible that we actually run up just slightly going into tomorrow. We could go to that $1,030 range. And I expect us to slowly dump to about that $1,000 level of support. And I think 1,000 is going to hold us up pretty darn well. It is possible for us to slightly drop below it, maybe by like $5 for just a few minutes. But I do think 1,000 is going to hold us up. Then at the very end, we're going to push up, up, up to about that $1,010 range. And I would not be surprised if we're just slightly in the red for tomorrow. I think it's going to be kind of a sideways day. I don't expect way too much crazy price action, but I just want to prepare you guys for this and what market makers are most likely thinking, because this is going to be important for how the market ends up moving for tomorrow. And I expect similar moves for the SPY and also the NASDAQ. I do expect a slight pullback going into tomorrow as well, like I said. So be prepared for that. It's not the end of the world. It's just pretty minor. And in other words, this could be looked at as the dip before the rip, because going into earnings, I do think Tesla may be announcing their stock split, more details about that, or some other big pieces of news. And I think Tesla could easily start to push as the momentum starts to perpetuate with the market looking a lot better and looking less fearful. And I do think we could easily push and fill this gap. Perhaps it's very possible. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I'm going to actually make another video about that later. So I am going to be very bullish going into next week, just a little bit bearish going into tomorrow right before we get there. Now, when it comes to the news, we have this coming out right over here. As you guys can see, the Shanghai plant for Tesla still remains shut down, and there is an option to reset, and things are looking like they're slowly starting to actually pick up when it comes to them limiting these restrictions due to the virus. But at the end of the day, it still is on lockdown. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. It is still very important. But the good thing is we are seeing some signs of them easing up just a little bit. So I really hope they reopen as soon as possible. This is going to affect their numbers for April. So be on the lookout for that when the time comes. Another thing to be talking about is this right over here. As you guys could see, Tesla's cheaper Model Y is almost here. And this is actually going to be very, very good for the public, because they are going to be producing higher capacity batteries for their new Model Y. And we are going to see them potentially produce them for a cheaper amount of money. So that in turn would be very good for their consumers. They can actually improve their revenue through this by getting a lot more sales. And this actually helps them by, shrinking a lot of costs as well, because I heard that this would also mean that the company could extend the range of its vehicles to use fewer batteries and other things like that as they improve the amount of cells that they are using. So this is a good innovation that's coming out. We are getting, the ability of them potentially producing it and selling them for cheap, the Model Ys. So that could be very, very awesome. And this could be something that ends up coming out on their earnings. So be on the lookout for that. But anyways, it's not the biggest piece of news in the world that's going to cause us to rally really hard. I just think that the entire market's in this shift phase. Like I said before, one last dip before we start to rally just a little bit. And I do see us staying in this channel for a little bit of time. Now, we did fill this gap right over here, which is a pretty darn good sign. I talked about that in my previous video, and Tesla's still looking very good right now. It's looking much better. We found our bottom, and it does look like it wants to start rallying in the next week or two. So be prepared for that. The stock is doing very, very well, and I'm still very excited for what else has to come. Long term, very bullish as always. Things are looking fantastic. And the short term does look a lot more bullish than bearish after what we just saw. So things are looking fantastic. Anyways, I want to thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of the day. I know this video is a little bit shorter, but I want to keep it a little bit more concise for you guys. I just wish the best for each and every one of you. I hope you take care and get ready for tomorrow, because it's going to be a very interesting day. With that out of the way, Tesla to the moon, and peace out.